So I decided to do recycling today. Every Saturday I like to do this. And one of the weird habits I have around doing recycling is that I like to pay attention to what people put into the recycling bin. Okay, and I like to think through, like, okay, why did this person buy this? What were they thinking when they purchased these things that are in the recycling bin? And this sounds a little crazy, but I also think that people who tend to recycle tend to spend a little bit more money. They might be a little bit more financially affluent. I actually do think that there's some evidence around that. And I'm looking, okay, and I see a bunch of Celsius cans in the recycling bin, like a lot of them. And a lot of them are like the organic, 200 milligrams from ECGC, which is a type of caffeine that's like a little bit easier to process. It doesn't whack you as much as like straight caffeine anhydrous. So like it's a little bit easier, and that's from one of the Celsius products. Now, where am I going with this? Just stay with me on here, because another thing happens. I go to the pharmacy and I'm going to get my one of my medications, and I go in, I walk into the pharmacy, and I'm standing there, and I hear a guy up top, and he goes, "Hey, I just put a Rockstar in the fridge for you." And he says this to one of the pharmacists. And the woman looks over and she's like, "Oh, thanks. I like Rockstar." And I was standing there and I'm like, Rockstar? Like, everybody usually drinks Monster. Monster's owned by Coke. And I go, that's a little weird, because Rockstar's owned by Pepsi, and Pepsi just added more stake to their ownership of Celsius. And I've been sitting here for the last 2 to 3 months. I've talked to you guys about how I'm thinking about buying Adobe. I've been thinking about spending more money on Elf, spending more money potentially on SoFi. And then I started to think through this, and I'm going, this morning I noticed there's a lot more Celsius cans in the recycling bin than normal. And I know it's a one-off thing, but I've seen it building up over and over again. And then I was reading about how Pepsi just became an 11% holder in Celsius. Pepsi's been struggling with Rockstar a lot. They've also been struggling in the space of snacks, okay? And they want to get more involved with the energy drink space because it's continuing to grow. And I'm thinking back to, I want to say in March, Celsius was down around like 35, 36 bucks. And this morning, Celsius was trading around 55. And I'm going, damn. So there's Pepsi, 11%. They've got 2 members on the board of Celsius. And the big factor here that we've got to think through is that now Celsius is able to take advantage of the strategic aspects that Pepsi's offering them. And on top of that, if you think through the process, and this is what I like, the drill of when I'm going to recycling and I'm just looking at what people are buying, because oftentimes I'll even look at like the cardboard boxes, because you can look at the cardboard box and see, are they buying Samsung? What type of TVs? And I like to play this game of like, what are people consuming, right? And I started to think through the lens, and here's where I want to go with this Celsius deal with Pepsi, is I started to think about, the energy space, the energy drink space, not like AI energy, which is, if you want me to do a video on the AI energy, comment down below. Also, make sure that you guys are sharing this with your friends, you're subscribing. Let me know. Hopefully I'm speaking to somebody out there. Anyway, if we're looking at this, and this is not financial advice, and I'm thinking through the lens of what's going to happen in September, I think after these rate cuts come, I think we might see a little growth, but I think September is going to be pretty down, because if we've been looking at the trends, when crypto falls off, which crypto's been off for about the last week, typically the market follows about a month later. So I have a feeling, a sneaky suspicion that a lot of this stuff might be a pretty good value come the end of September. Now, when I go back to the Celsius experience, and I'm thinking through that lens of like, okay, if I walk to the grocery store, or if I'm going through the actual, let's say I'm at the convenience store, right? And I'm standing there, and I don't really like coffee, okay? Which, first of all, if you don't like coffee, something's wrong with you. But if you don't like coffee, you're looking at it, and let's say you're a truck driver. This is just crazy stereotypes. But if you're a truck driver, if you're a dude and you're looking at, at the glass, you're like, I want Rockstar. Okay. Now, if you're someone like me and you're a little hoity-toity and you're like, I don't want Rockstar, I want the Celsius. I'll be a little healthier with the Celsius. And then if you're my wife, guess what you're buying? You're looking at the energy drinks and you're going, I like the cotton candy Alani Nu. That also, the Alani Nu cans are pretty neat. I like that. Oh, and the distribution's getting bigger. You're seeing Alani Nu in CVS. You're seeing it all over the place. Oh, I wonder why that is. Because Celsius has acquired Alani Nu over the last, 6 months, 8 months. And so we're seeing this growth that typically, it's starting to freaking pop. And even in my main job is that I own a gym. I have a strength training software, a SaaS product that we sell. And I know a lot of people that are in the space of fitness. They like Celsius. They like Alani Nu. And now what's interesting here is with these two board members from Pepsi and with these two and with the 11% strategic holding. And then on top of that, we're looking at the distribution. Then we look at the Pepsi deals, right? We have to think through all the Pepsi deals. Rockstar hasn't fit into any of their Pepsi deals that they have with universities, and a huge portion of energy sales comes from universities. So Monster has this pretty strong hold on universities. Okay, even a Pepsi university, typically you're going to find Monsters, right? People love Monster because Rockstar's just fallen out. But now Alani Nu is a way cooler product than Monster. Celsius is becoming a cooler product. And you're going to see Pepsi's strategic holding play out, that now you're going to go to these Pepsi universities and a lot of these college kids are going to start smashing the cotton candy Alani Nus. And then what's going to end up happening is this share of Celsius might start to grow for Pepsi. The strategic distribution is going to continue to grow, and we're going to see a stock right now that's at 55 and has had tremendous growth. It's going to start to grow even more in a more stable fashion. So I think a lot of people are missing out because we're so obsessed with AI and we're looking at what AI is doing that we forget that there are other stocks out there like, Cheesecake, SoFi still, and then like Celsius. And so I wanted to share that because I think it really, when you start to pay attention to what's around you and you start to look at what people like to buy and you start to think through the lens of the purchase, Monster, Rockstar, they're like 70%, 75% male driven products. There's a whole nother gender, and Alani Nu caters to that gender. And Alani Nu's energy drinks are freaking good, and they get you wired up. So dudes out there, if you want to max out on your bench press, try those Alani Nus. So what am I doing? I'm thinking through all these factors. My wife and I close on this property, $1 million+ property here, 50 acres in the next week. So we're closing on that in 4 days. For me to think through this though, I'm going to go get myself a cotton candy Alani Nu. I'm going to make sure that my financial I's are dotted, my financial T's are crossed. I got that emergency fund built up. I got that, my retirement stuff is set up. And then I'm going to think through, I'm going to hold a little bit. I'm going to hold until the end of September. And I might make and pull a trigger on some Celsius. So I hope this helped somebody out there. Until next time, peace.